You are now listening to
The Really Joe podcast. Really Joe. Really.
My 8-year-old says, "Why do we have to listen to this?" Because we don't cuss in front of our kids. Well, we try
That's a
our
good
best.
quality to have, bro.
Well, just a little bit. So, she was like, they're saying a bunch of bad words. I'm like, yeah, I know. And my old lady, see, they're like little princesses. And since my oldest, she's about to be 9, we kind of gotta give her the streets a little bit, because she's so much of a princess. So my,
Explain that. Giving her the street. What does that mean?
we gotta show her the other side of it, because everybody's not gonna act like us. Everybody's not gonna talk like us. So like whenever she's at school, she's gonna see different stuff, and she's gonna hear kids cussing and all that type of stuff. So we kind of gotta, put a little street in her, so she can kind of know how to handle herself. Kind of like, I know you don't like stories, but I'm a storyteller. You gotta excuse me.
No, I don't like stories when they don't lead to a point.
Okay, all right, I got you. So look, perfect example. Me and her went to the store. I take them to the store, just buy them a bunch of junk. And we were coming out of the store, and the guy pulled up in a Camaro like real fast. So I kind of, put my arm behind her, like, because she was about to walk into the parking lot. And I just stopped her. And dude, he hopped out the car. He was like, "Oh man, my bad, bro." He was like, "Man, I ain't mean nothing by it, man. It was a car behind me, and they was all on my tail. So I pulled in here real fast so they wouldn't hit me." And he was like, "My bad, little mama." And he started walking in the store. So I'm opening the door for my little girl, and she getting in, and she turned around and says, "What's a little mama?" And I was like, "Oh God, leave, man."
Yeah,
I'm like, man.
I mean, well, actually, I would want to ask like a pretty loaded question. First of all, your girls are princesses. They don't really curse. You don't really curse around them.
Mm.
You don't say the N word. You try to be the perfect role model towards your kids. How do you think that's going to conflict with them going to school?
Well,
Because they're going to see it, they're going to hear it,
mm,
and they're eventually, probably because they are so sheltered, and that sheltered isn't a bad thing.
right.
Sheltered is what every kid should be because they're kids.
Mm.
But we know that everybody don't raise their kids how you raised your kids. So
Mm.
what do you think the conflict is going to be with them going to, say, high school, where they're going to be around sex, drugs, lies, and videotapes?
Well, it's kind of crazy because I know it's gonna get bad at some point. Kind of like this was like a year or two ago. My little girl came home and she was like, "What's a pussy?" And she was like, "What does that mean?" And she like really serious. Keep in mind, she's a little princess. She really, it's like she asks you this in all seriousness. And so, like, go talk to your mama. You know what I'm saying? I can't explain that to you, but she was like, I was like, where you get that from? And she was like, some little girl at school was, throwing it around. And keep in mind, she's 8 right now. So this happened a year or two ago. And it's just like, yeah, I knew that little girl was trouble. You know what I mean? Like, that's the first thing that I think I do it. But it's like, I guess it's like, I want her to be a princess as long as possible, until it's unavoidable, you know, because like I tell people, my kid, she like my oldest, she's 8, and she's a real 8-year-old. She doesn't have a cell phone. I'm not going to buy her a cell phone. She doesn't think that she's overly grown. And, she's not real snappy. I mean, of course, she got a little smart mouth, but
Yeah,
it's
she's a
not as,
girl.
yeah, yeah, it's not as bad as some kids that I saw. So it's like she's a real 8-year-old, and I really don't want her to grow up too fast. So when it gets to those points where okay, all right, we can't avoid this conversation or this topic, we're gonna have to let her know what it is. So
So what are you going to do to let her know what it is? What steps are you going to take to let her know what it is? How are you going to be able to keep her this pure little princess that is really an 8-year-old versus trying to move in this world where 8-year-olds aren't 8-year-olds anymore?
Um, I'll, I guess I would have to put it as kind of like I tell my kids, practice good habits, So I guess I'm gonna keep trying to practice good habits with her until those moments come to where it's like, hey, this what you're gonna have to do. This how you're gonna have to handle yourself. And and I mean they actually come. They're actually coming now, So kind of like, oh, story time. I'm sorry. but
Story time.
We were hanging out with some friends. So some friends had some of their friends there. So it was this one little girl, make a long story short. Um, I think my little girl had some braids in her hair with some beads and stuff. But this little girl, a little Caucasian girl, she asked her, "Are you a girl or a boy?" And we getting ready to go, and I'm standing behind her, and I'm like, "Ask her, is she a girl or a boy?" But my little girl, she's so like shy, and well, she's not shy, but she's real timid, and she
Yeah,
didn't say
timid
nothing.
is the better
Yeah,
word.
yeah. So because she'll talk your ear off, but yeah, she was just like, I guess, a little too timid to say it back. So we got in the car and we're trying to tell her, all right, this is how you handle the situation. If somebody's being mean to you, you have to be mean back. Like I get it, we raise you not to be a mean kid, but if somebody's being mean and rude to you, you got to give it back to them. But I mean, and keep in mind, I said that to say, as the situations come, we kind of inform her and try to give her the street side of it.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of going about it, because if you tell them too early, and it's a time and a place for everything. You can't react uh, mean to every little situation. And when you teach kids to fight and be like belligerent and act, how hood rats act,
Yeah.
then they carry that throughout life, because that's what my mom told me. And people don't understand that the your mom or your dad's word is the Bible. It's the gospel when you're younger. So you grow up with that, just like church. You go to church, your mom drags you to church every Wednesday, every Sunday. You in 3 o'clock service, you in 12 o'clock service, all of that jazz or whatever, and you grow up with those principles, and that's the same. And why? Because you're indoctrinated with it. So that's the same thing with the teachings of your dad and your mom. That's gospel to you at 8. That's gospel to you at 9. That's gospel to you at 10. So you carry those values that your mom and your dad teaches you. So it's like, dang, at 8 years old, my mom has told me if someone talks about me, then I'm supposed to hit. And then you take that to 18, you take that to 18 in college, then you take that to 25 in the workplace, then you take that to 30 at your career, then you take that to 50 at the old people home. You just fighting all your life,
Right.
and that's because you took that indoctrination literally, that I'm supposed to fight at all times because my mom and dad told me that at a young age. So
Right.
I think that you're doing the right thing by teaching them piece by piece. I think that you're teaching them like by the circumstance. If she would have said, "Hey, I like your braids, but I seen little boys do this. Are you a boy?" I think that you would have said, "Okay, well, tell her that you're a girl and tell her thank you." But the fact that this Caucasian little girl said off the rip, "Are you a boy or a girl?" Then it was like animosity, like, okay, well, nah, give that same energy back.
As a parent, it pisses you off at the other parents because it's like, why your kid don't know not to ask a kid if they're a boy or a girl?
Let me answer that question. Because kids are pure. Kids are truthful. And even your little girl probably didn't take it as an insult because she's 8 and she doesn't know politics and she doesn't know racism and she doesn't know that her hair is a problem in corporate. She doesn't know those things. Kids are just honest. Kids are going to tell you when you're fat. Kids are going to tell you that you stink. Kids are going to tell you that your food is nasty. They're pure. They're the purest thing that you can ever do. And because of that purity, we as in adults, we have been indoctrinated to know that when someone touches our hair that, oh, well, that's racism. Like, nah, why you touching my hair? Why you asking about my skin tone? Why you asking about the music that I listen to? When kids honestly are just curious. They're curious. It wasn't really, I don't feel that it was an insult. She's a kid and they don't know how to articulate how adults do. So they do it to the best of their ability. And that was to the best of her ability. It's like, are you a boy or a girl? Because every Black person that she sees that's a boy either has long dreads or braids in their hair, or I'm just assuming, but I can only think that, she listened to rap music or see Black people on the TV and she's like, oh, this Black person has braids. So oh, and that's a boy. And this lady or this girl has long weave, and that's the girl. So when your little 8-year-old girl that's an 8-year-old girl and supposed to have beads and braids in her hair, have those beads and braids in her hair, she automatically, in her kid mind, tries to like compartmentalize, this is a boy. Because this is what I've seen on the TV. This is what I've seen in magazines. This is what I've seen on the radio. So that's what I correlate to being a Black boy. And I really feel like it was out of honesty. The kids are just honest, bro. They don't understand how to articulate the climate of what's going on. They don't know. They're not into politics and racism and shit like then stuff like that. They don't understand. They don't understand. So I think that it was out of a pure state. It was just that you as an adult knows where that come from. Because if a grown adult told you, are you a boy or a girl if you had braids? You'd be like, what? I'm clearly a man, bruh. Like, what are you talking about? But you're thinking about it in an adult state with all your indoctrinate lessons about racism and all of that stuff. And you're taking that and looking at this little girl and saying, why is she saying that? And she's just saying it from a pure state. I'm pretty sure her parents wasn't around because you'd pull her parents' collar like, hey, why is your kid saying that? Have you not teach them anything?
No, the crazy thing, her parents was right there.
Yeah, but you know what? Kids always say crazy stuff even when their parents are around. My niece asked me, why is this man so fat in front of us in the grocery store? and she was 5. It wasn't that she was trying to be mean. It was just that she was making an observation as a kid. Kids are pure. That's what we would say if we wasn't indoctrinated, if we wasn't programmed to say stuff and think a certain way. We would just be like, we wouldn't say probably fat. We'd probably say, dang, they big. We'd say that. But we've become so politically correct that we censor ourselves. The internet don't even got to do it for us no more. We censor ourselves.
I got one for you that's better than that. Then the example that you gave, right? My youngest, she just turned 5, so this was like a year or two ago. They were in Walmart.
Well, when you say 5, I know it's about to be a crazy story.
Man, listen, that little girl's a character. But yeah, so they in Walmart, both my kids and their mama, and it's a little person that works in Walmart. I don't want to say the M word. So, they say the M word is disrespectful. So I'm going to say a little person works at Walmart. And my old lady tell me, my youngest looked at her and say, Mommy, kids can work at Walmart. And I was like, oh man, that little girl is gonna be a character. I was like, man, this is crazy.
She was saying that out of a pure state,
Yeah, right.
that this person is the same height as me, because we have to understand that they're not seeing it from the same world that we're seeing it from. They're seeing it from a pure state of a childlike mind. So they're like, they're the same height as me. They're 3'2". They probably like to play games and play these things that we like to play because they're my same height. They're just trying to get it they're trying to find something in common. So, oh, I'm 3'2". She's 3'2". She's a kid. That's how children of mine think. But we like to tell kids, oh, don't say this, don't do this, don't do that, when they're at their pure state in life.
Oh,
And that, I feel like that's how adults should be too. I mean, because we're adults, we understand what's disrespectful because of what, little people or Black people or white people or Asian people or whatever have told us about what is offensive to them. So we have the intelligence to say, okay, I'm not going to say that word. I'm going to pick a different word, to articulate what I want to say to them. But a kid doesn't know that. So they're just going to say the closest thing that they're able to say from their little intelligent minds, which kids are very intelligent. I love kids. I laugh at kids all the time.
So check this one out. My old lady and the kids went somewhere to get some ice cream one day. And it was a tranny in there. It was he was born a man, but he was dressed like a woman. And I guess my oldest was like, that's not a woman. And the sad thing is, they loud too. So I'm sure Buddy heard them. But my thing was, well, she was right. You know what I mean? You can't fool her.